It is dark in here. There we go. This is a little bit better. Well, hey everybody. Uh, just making a video of see, those are my two cats. I am just chilling in the backyard. Hope everybody's having a good day. I just wanted to talk about vision of love and how you have to keep the vision of love in your mind and in your soul and in your actions so you can reflect love in a way where it's returned back to you. And in society, I believe that if we reflect love better, we will have a better return on what we're looking for. But it starts off with self-accountability, and the way I learned about it is taking self-accountability for how I wanted to reflect it, and in return I got a love that cannot be explained by the human eye. And I've been putting a series together, as you've seen in my previous videos, on how you have to reiterate your life through time, and how you have to reiterate the past and how you want your future to be. And if you project it with love, you will get love back. And if you project it with hate, you will get back hate. And when you realize that it's your vibe that you're throwing out there on how you project, you will think twice on how you want to project it, because you will think on how you're going to get a return. And seeing that love is basically the design of everything, you have to tune in to self to realize that the love that you're looking to get is already in you. You just have to project it to get it back. And sitting in the peace that I found in my life, I had to tune in to myself, and I spent a lot of time with God, and I have been ever since I was a kid. Despite my mistakes, he always found a way to turn me back around to see that it was him that was filling me up with love. And when I found my peace, it reminded me on how many times that I did run back to him, and I spent time with him, and I listened to a lot of gospel music, and it keeps my mind on him, that it was him that kept restoring me back to where I had I would say, spunk, or I had more confidence. I had more confidence in myself in going towards my goal of being successful in business or friendships, family. And it was the vibe I was giving off that was confusing people on who I was, and it was me who had to be still. I had to learn how to be still, and finding out that I could have stayed still in his presence back then, when I used to get in my zone where I get in my own, you have to find a place where you can sit down and just get your mind focused on love, and focused on God, and focused on things that are not harming to you, and focus on things that are basically self-healing. It's about how self sees self, and when you see that he is the ultimate self, you have to make your yes his yes your yes, and his no your no, and you will realize that you sat still and analyze yourself according to his word and according to his being, and you will see that you vibe just like him, because you feel just like him from the heart. You have to realize that it is your vibe and your thoughts that's making who you are, because who you think you are, you're going to react on who you think you are instead of who you know you are. And when you walk with God and what he tells you who you are by showing you who he is as an individual, you will find yourself aligning up with the vibe that's been keeping society going, which was love in the beginning, and He is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. And when you walk with the one who's been here for eternity, you will see that we are reflections of Him. And when you realize that you're a walking reflection from the heart, you will realize that you're seeing dual perceptions of life in a way where if it's not his yes and not his no, then you will have to reiterate on why did you give that yes a no, or why did you give that no a yes, because you have to realize that it's always his vision that's going to keep a positive flow going instead of going towards karma, because time has a pushback when it's not connected to a place of love within self or within society, and you start to look at your perception of life a bit different when you realize that there was no enemy attacking you, because if there was an enemy, you are fighting against either another person's vibe or you're fighting your own, because it is you who gets to decide on who you want to be, because you are you. And when you finally realize that there's no one that can hold you in a place of captivity but you, even if you are in jail or even if you are in jail or in a place where you feel captive, you always have a place within yourself to find peace, because you put everything in perspective of love, it uh, whether it be on, I'll say whether it's on a topic of whether it's your family or your finances, or a, I'll say I'll say the area or environment that you're in. I would say, because I know not everybody lives in a country where it's free to be who you are, and it's hard to show self when you feel like, when you have a place where it's hard to present yourself, where you can actually express where you're coming from, so you kind of hide yourself from people seeing who you really are. So you kind of close yourself in a mindset where if I do this, then they won't see me like this or see you in a certain way. So you're not really fully going towards your goal as your complete self, because you feel like you have to hide yourself. And love shows you that it's unconditional. You can be who you are without any restrictions, as long as in the boundaries of love. And when you finally learn the boundaries of love is unconditional, you find a place of peace within yourself, because you don't feel as judged by peers or self, because we tend to nitpick at ourselves. And I was a big nitpicker of myself, and it usually tends to go towards suicide. And a lot of us go towards suicide, and that's when you're reiterating on why you should live or not. And that's not a place we should be in. I had to look at myself when I went into those places a few times in my life, and I had to reiterate on why I didn't want to be here, and what was the reason why I didn't want to be here, and why am I worth even being here? What's my purpose? And sitting down and being still on love and looking at the boundaries of it, you feel like that you're not worthy of love, so you try to walk out the boundary to see if you could find something else that can replace it, basically. And there's nothing else that can replace the vibe of love, which is God's vibe. And that's the vibe that we're all looking for, because when we feel like it's missing in society, we tend to fall. And in in history, where societies that's been built and tore down were societies that took God out of the picture. And when we take God out of our personal life, we tend to try to replace it with either an addiction whether it's drug addiction or addicted to a person's presence or company, being codependent, or you can be codependent on even opioids, because you having a hard time reiterating emotions that were traumatizing to you, so you go back to that feeling, that exact feeling you had at the moment you were being traumatized. So you have a hard time um, holding up a place of peace, because you feel like your innocence was ripped from you at that moment. And innocent restoration of innocence is restoration of peace, and restoration of peace is restoration of your inheritance, because God said he only have thoughts of peace of you, which means you should only have thoughts of peace of you. And once you find out that your peace can't be touched by any entity or any other person or circumstance, you find that you have to hold your peace within self, and you can be able to share it with society. And in my walk, I've been able to share my experiences through my transparency, and through being able to express myself in a way where I feel free to be me, and open to be me, and free to be me, and express me as Tim. And that because that's the only person I can be, because he designed me uniquely, and I had to be his reflection. So Tim has to reflect God. So the outside world can see God's love through me, with the way I speak, the way I walk, the way I talk, the way I vibe, the way I help people see their way out of circumstances that I've been through, where they can find God's vibe, because we all search for love. But when we're born to the time we die, because we're reciting life gracefully, which means we're reciting love towards people, because I recite love to myself, because God recited love as soon as he spoke existence into reality. And that when he spoke existence into reality, it's stuck with reality for eternity. Even though I'm limited, knowing he's unlimited keeps us in a place of safety. And that's why we look for it in society throughout history. And furthermore, because when I have my kids, I'm going to show them that God is the one who's keeping them alive. Even when I'm not here and their mom's not here, they will have a structure of unconditional love, where they can be themselves in a place of safety within themselves and confidence within themselves, and they'll have a place where they can go and reiterate if they ever get lost in their journey. And I was saying that the vision of love. Vision of love is a love that we are blessed with when we find our way, when we find out how God vibes and how he projected his conscious thinking into existence. And that was the basis and the structure that we're supposed to live by. That was the projection he had when he created us, which is the projection that we're supposed to structure our lives on gracefully. That's why he said his mercy and grace is new every morning, which means I have to recite every morning how grace is in my life and how he projected my life towards peace till the day I die, which means every morning I recite for the rest of my life, I have to recite grace, which keeps me on the line of God. As I think grace, as I feel grace, I think grace. And as I think grace, I live grace, which means I have graceful reactions to whatever life brings me. So when you finally get in that place of peace and sit down and be able to just enjoy God's company, you be able to sit with him and reiterate and recite to other people on how to sit as well in his grace and his mercy and in his peace, and understand how his system works and how he preserves it through our hearts with his rhythm. And when you learn God's rhythm, you'll be able to it's easier for you to reiterate because it's something that you know that you can't live without, and you know it's part of your design. And knowing your design gives you a better sense of uh, encouragement, a better sense of self-esteem, a better sense of thinking about self, and you'll be able to vibe with anyone basically, because in society we tend to close our minds to other people's culture or way of thinking, or whether it's racial or age or gender, we tend to judge people and then tend to close other people off. But you have to come to people. You have to come to people without judgment, so you'll be able to understand where they're coming from a bit better, because everybody has a story, and you can be one of those people where they can confide in. And some people just need someone to listen, and not really, not a lot of people listen. And for the people who do listen, we need you. And when we find those people, we tend to pour our hearts out to people who really do care and can hold it confidentially, because it's hard to find people who are really genuine and really can touch a place in you by sharing their transparency, their story, their testimony with you, and tell you how to turn your wrongs into a right, which means they're telling you what God told you, how to turn your wrong into a right. So you just passing on the message that we all need, so we all can be on one accord. And when we're on one accord, we're all one accord on peace, because He already projected peace. All we have to do was sit in it. And when you sit in it, you'll be able to share it whether you're speaking a word or not. People just feel the vibe from you. You're just sitting in unconditional peace, because you got a better understanding of unconditional love. And we really don't have a full understanding of God's unconditional love and why He does the things He do. But it is because He wanted to preserve society. And if He didn't want to preserve society, He would have been deleted by this point in time. After all, human society has been through, as far as things that are not of love. Obviously, we've been through a whole lot of history of things that weren't of love. We're just trying to find out how to sit in it. And the misunderstanding is going to misunderstanding and being judgmental is going to cause us to miss out on what's actually sitting right in front of our face. So when you are reiterating your life, reiterate in a way where you keep peace and grace in your story, so you can go towards a graceful death. Because at the end, we all have to stand before God and be able to be unashamed on what we did here in this life. So keep the vision of peace in your mind, so you can manifest it. And when you manifest it, you'll be able to teach your kids and teach others how to manifest peace in their life while you're manifesting your success through His word. So stay in peace, everyone. I love you, and have a good day.